In every game in which there is competition, there will always be players seeking to gain an advantage in some way, shape, or form. For most players, that comes in the form of self-improvement. Players will spend days, weeks, and months looking to become better at the game they are playing, studying various tactics, and playing for thousands of hours to improve. For others, however, this advantage comes in the form of cheating. Almost every esports scene has a cheating scandal at one point or another. A top player is caught cheating after a long time, or someone skyrockets to the top without being known at all previously, or a team works together to try to gain an unfair advantage over someone else. And for the first time in UFC 4 history, a player has been, without a shred of doubt, caught cheating in high-profile matches. This is that story, a warning and a precautionary tale to those who might wish to follow in this player's footsteps. Meet Hammer. An EA UFC veteran and longtime competitive player, he has had a long history of infamy within the UFC community. Throughout UFC 3, he was known as a player who struggled very much against the elite players, but could catch some if you let down your guard.
Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me?!
He was especially known for using, and depending on who you ask, abusing, the 2-gate submissions in UFC 3 to get quick submissions in a minigame that many viewed to be unfair. However, Hammer was never able to reach the top level of the game within the ESFL or otherwise, always falling short to more experienced and better skilled players. This trend continued into UFC 4. Hammer would win some, and then he'd lose some, and by this point in the game was viewed by many as somewhat of a meme or a joke within the community. His infamy spread throughout the community, and it came to the point that many users would actively cheer for him to win within the ESFL as a joke. Users spamming Hammer Time in the Twitch chat was not an uncommon sight whenever he would fight, with players cheering him on the entire way through. Eventually, this would end up going much farther than they had ever expected. Fortunes began to change for Hammer in the month of October 2021. Out of the blue, he started winning. He beat Haroon, a player who himself was infamous for sending UFC YouTube king Martial Mind racist messages after they fought. Then, he would beat BSD Broomstick. By this point, the jokes had become so strong that players were actively cheering for Hammer to become a champion. And when Hammer fought JC21, a former champion and one of the strongest players in UFC 4 history, JC would end up trolling during the entire fight and losing a decision.
A bit of extra damage.
Fuck you, you fat cunt.
After beating CIA Webcam by submission, Hammer would fight for the belt against TD's Dabkin, and to the massive shock of the community, would end up winning and defending the belt before eventually losing it to Trixie. So that's it, right? Hammer, a longtime veteran and experienced player, finally ended up overcoming the hurdle and achieved his ultimate goal to become an ESFL champion. Congratulations, let's go home. Well, since you clicked on this video, obviously not. However, the cheating did not begin until much, much later, because after this quick rise came an absolutely disastrous fall. After his loss to Trixie, Hammer would suffer 5 losses straight in the ESFL. He would be submitted, lose by decision, and get knocked out. This did not deter him in the slightest though, and he would come back for the team season of ESFL, looking to prove himself as still being one of the elites of the EA UFC series. This did not go as planned. Not only would Hammer lose, he got absolutely decimated. In fact, in the 14-week season, Hammer did not pick up a single win. This was devastating for the former champion, and it is here that we see the cracks start to show. You see, Hammer is a very proud player. He prides himself on his expertise in the game and his veteran status as a player, and it seems he could not bear the amount of losses that he was taking and the players making fun of him any longer. Now, a normal player might work twice as hard and try to get themselves back to where they once were, but after so many years of playing and attempting to reach the top, only to finally do it and fall all the way back down to where he started, Hammer found himself out of options. Now, the next section of this video would not have been possible without the incredible work of FSD Competitor. I wanted to take this time to thank him for being the one to break this story in the first place, and for all the investigation he did into keeping the EA UFC community clean. Thank you very much. That being said, Hammer did not just play within the ESFL. As many players do when trying to get better, he played ranked. Boasting an average record of 70-38, he had nothing to write home about. Winning twice as much as you lose is just about right for a player of his level. But then, he posted something peculiar in the ESFL Discord. Now, EA UFC is a console-only game. This means that you can only play on Xbox or PlayStation. However, he said in the EA UFC Discord how much he loved playing on Xbox with a PlayStation controller. This raised some eyebrows from Competitor, who asked him about it, and Hammer quickly backtracked, claiming that he was using an XIM adapter that allows you to use controllers on other consoles. Thinking nothing of it, competitor dropped the subject. That same day, however, Hammer began to boast of his 40-fight win streak on Ranked. Now, 40 fights is absolutely nothing to write home about for the elite level players of this game, but for Hammer, this was unprecedented. With a 70-38 record beforehand, he was winning just 65% of his matches with 108 games played. But now, with 148 games played, he had increased that by 10% within a day, and gone from 70-38 to 110-38, with a win rate of 75%. By this point, competitor became extremely suspicious and started to dig deeper. The investigation started by joining the Discord server of the Cronus Zen. The Cronus is a controller that allows you to use scripts within games, and it has been something Hammer has been outspoken against in the past, so that is where the investigation seemed to be logical to begin. Lo and behold, Hammer was in the Discord server. Of course, when called out on this, he denied having a Zen and said that you couldn't even see what was in the server unless you had the role, which is true. But when competitors searched the server, he found that Hammer did indeed have the role. The only way to get a role within the Cronus server is to register your unique controller serial number and have it verified. So by this point, it was confirmed that there was a Cronus within Hammer's household. At this point, the story changed. When confronted with this information, Hammer claimed that he was only in the server to search for cheaters and bring them to EA. Now, there was no hard evidence, but things were becoming more and more suspicious. And then, the floor broke from underneath the cheater and exposed the snakes from below. Messages were found on Reddit and the Cronus Zen message board of Hammer asking specifically for a script to track the rumbles on submissions. Case closed, right? Well, not necessarily. You see, Hammer has a bit of a reputation for fudging truths, or in some cases, just flat out lying. And this is what he was doing throughout this entire process. He claimed that it was his brother's Cronus, even when messages were found of Hammer talking about his script not functioning on Apex Legends, proving definitively that he was using it to cheat on other games as well. This despite him declaring, on his son's life no less, that he did not own a Cronus at all. So after some debate, Hammer was banned from ESFL competition and has since been ostracized from the community as well as going private on Twitter. So why is this important, and why am I making a video about it? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Firstly, it's a warning. Cheating at the highest level of the EA UFC games is obvious because everybody knows each other. It is a small and tightly woven community, and everybody knows what everybody else is capable of. So, if you think you're going to get away with it, don't even try. It's not going to work. But secondly, it's a bit of a sad message. No matter what we say about UFC 4, at the end of the day, it is a game. And the idea that you need to cheat to get a leg up on somebody else is, at the end of the day, unfortunate. Nobody needs to cheat, and nobody needs to try to gain an unfair advantage over the other player and ruin a great thing. To end this on a positive note, ESFL is doing absolutely fantastic things despite this recent scandal. If you've made it this far in the video, go check them out. Get involved in the competitive community, and maybe don't buy a Cronus Zen.